Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room, everybody. What is going on? I'm your host, Mistress Carrie, and welcome to episode, believe it or not, 168. Doesn't even seem possible. I apologize for the tardiness. For anybody that has been on the show on deployment, you've kind of seen the setup, and it's a little complex. There's a lot getting plugged into a computer to make the show happen. And I learned something about the show tonight. You got to boot the computer up before you plug everything into it. I had never done it the other way until tonight. And tonight I set the whole show up, went to turn the computer on, and it wouldn't boot up. And that's what I've been doing for the last 10 minutes, literally thinking that the Cocktails in the War Room computer had died. And it was because everything was plugged into it and it couldn't go through the boot up cycle. So finally I figured out that you have to unplug everything out of it, boot the computer up, and then plug it all back in. And it works fine. So welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. How are you? Like I said, it's episode 168. Welcome to my War Room. And if you're new to Cocktails in the War Room, let us know in the comments. Let us know that it's your first time. Let us know that it's your first show. And also let us know where you're watching from, because the War Room family, as they have dubbed themselves, want to be able to welcome you properly. And it's always interesting to find out where you guys are watching from. So great to see you guys. What's up, Keith, Trisha, Mark is here, Jen is here, Kim, Elsa, Julia is here, also Karen and Heather and Annette. And as you guys can tell, I got some sleep in the last week. So thank you for putting up with my delusions last week. I did not sleep a lot during my trip. And I definitely did not sleep on the way home very much. And with the time change and the travel, it was a little bit of a slog to try and get the show up and running last week. So, yeah, I slept a lot and things are back to normal. I've adjusted to the time change. The jet lag is over and I'm back on the air, and everything is as normal as it can be. So thank you so much for putting up with me last week and for joining me the week before while I was live in the United Arab Emirates. And of course, thank you for joining me every week here in the War Room. 168. It doesn't even seem possible. So watching from New Hampshire tonight, says Mark. When are you coming to see me, says Keith. Watching from Walmart as I shop. Well, what's up, Brianna? Brianna was very helpful. There were a lot of shows that got announced, postponed, canceled, and trying to keep up the concert listings on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com is hard, because so many shows are getting postponed, so many tours are getting announced and then canceled and pushed off. And I always want to keep that event calendar with all the concerts as updated as I can for you. And Brianna was giving me a hand with that this week. So you rock, chica. What's up, Burrito? Did you manage to pick up a flying carpet while you were at the rug shop? Well, I want to tell you guys all about my trip. And so what I've been doing the last couple days was some massive photo dumps on the Mistress Carrie page on Facebook, so that you guys would see just some of the pictures that I took. People that have Mistress Carrie backstage passes, I had been putting up kind of travel blog posts for them. That's part of the backstage pass, is that anywhere I go, I'm always going to put up blog posts and, exclusive photo descriptions and everything. So a lot of those pictures, the backstage pass holders had already seen, but I just put this massive photo dump up there. And I figured tonight, at least in the early part of the show, that I could talk about some of the pictures and maybe answer some of the questions. But before we get to that, I wanted to let you guys know I got my hands on some watermelon moonshine. And since last week I couldn't even have a cocktail at all, I'm making up for it tonight with watermelon moonshine. So cheers to you guys, and cheers to the first ballot Hall of Famer, Big Papi David Ortiz, who found out today he is getting inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So cheers to Big Papi, and cheers to you guys. And this stuff is no joke. And look who decided to join us. Hi, Wednesday. For anybody that's new to Cocktails in the War Room, this is my co-host. This is Wednesday the Goth Pug. That's where you can find her on Instagram. Wednesday's really close to 1,000 followers on Instagram. So if you're not following her yet, We got to get her to 1,000 followers. And her best pal Zero is here for their weekly play date as well. So are you being a good girl? Can you get down for me? No, down. Down. Good girl. Good. You want me to keep... See how she so gingerly claws me when she wants me to keep petting her? Are you going to do it now? Or are you... See, there we go. All right. Would you like to have a cookie? Can you get down for me? Down. Down. Good girl. Here you go, Zero. Come over here and get your cookie, too. Good girls. You guys are being so good today. Had to take the dogs out and get them outside because it's going to get really cold in the next couple of days. And it's also, we're getting a lot of snow this weekend, and Wednesday is not a fan. So I've been trying to get her as exercised as possible. Sit down. Can I have a high five? Good girl. Sit down. Good girl. Let me tell you what, last week after the show, because I had only been home for a couple hours when we did last week's show, Wednesday licked my face for like a half hour, and she burrowed into my skin to sleep that night. She missed me so much. Right? Did you miss your mommy? I know you're so very sleepy because it's so hard being a dog. She did miss me, Lisa. Shannon says, hello. Gizzy is following Wednesday the Goth Pug. That's awesome. The Hangover sounds like it would be a son of a bitch. Are you talking about the watermelon moonshine? I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. Kevin says, hi, Zero. And yeah, Penny, we're getting snow. If you guys haven't seen the forecast, Friday night into Saturday and Saturday night, it's looking like a foot of snow that we're supposed to get this weekend. I don't know where everybody's watching from, but where I am, we're supposed to get snow. So Wednesday's not a fan, especially when we're going to get more than she can walk through, because then she doesn't want to go outside. So, are you being a good girl? Huh? Are you being good? Yeah, you are. You're being a good girl. Jen says, shit ton of snow. Burrito says, I got the wood burning stove going here in Kansas. The wood stove here in the war room is going as well. Pretty much running 24/7 this time of year, so for sure. Walter, get the moonshine, says Bish. Yeah, exactly. Let's see. Got to say what's up to the Northeast Kingdom heavy rock and metal group that's joining us here in the war room. Which foot? Jonathan says the big one, not even the little one. We're talking Bigfoot snow. 2 words, Bigfoot, not Sasquatchy. Walter, get the snowblower ready too, says Hines. South Shore here, says Annette. Best you wish you were back in the UAE, says Brett. Well, let me tell you, first of all, the weather was really nice. But there's a lot going on over there right now, which is kind of crazy. And it kicked off while I was still there, but it's been really weird. I don't know if you guys have been watching the news the last couple of days, but Patriot missiles got fired for the first time since the Gulf War, because 2 rockets got fired at Abu Dhabi by the Iranian-backed Houthis, who were the ones that attacked the airport while I was there. And then there was retaliation, and then stop showing the pug hole. We don't show the pug hole. It's not polite. Wednesday. That's not, get down off of there. And so it's been pretty crazy recently. So let's get into it and talk about some of the questions you guys have. You guys have had a chance to see a lot of the pictures now, and I figured I would pop into the war room. What's up, Terrence? How are ya? Terrence is watching from Norton. Bob says, ugh, me want summer. Yeah, don't we all, dude? Trust me, I get it. Terrence says mass weather has been schizophrenic. It has been kind of crazy. It got up to almost 40 degrees today, and I think tomorrow night it's going to be below 0. So I tried today to kind of chip away at any ice that was on my walkways and kind of clear snow really well today, and really try to get ready for the weather that we're getting. Brett wants to know, is my husband involved in the latest fighting? So I've told you guys in the past that I don't want to get too specific with exactly what my husband does. I can tell you that my husband is safe. I can tell you that it's not really his mission per se, but we have thousands of troops that are stationed in the United Arab Emirates, which a lot of people don't know. And so it's a little bit scary right now. I got to tell you that the whole trip, I talked to my husband about it because it was so surreal for me to know that I was in the Middle East. And the only other times I had ever been there were my embed trips in 2006 and 2011. And to walk around the Emirates that are so Western, you would never mistake it for anywhere else because there are telltale signs, the call to prayer, the mosques everywhere, the big giant banners of the sheikhs, obviously the traditional attire that so many of the people in the Emirates still wear, even though it's very Western in a lot of ways. I felt extremely safe walking around, even at night. I watched women walk around at night by themselves. I never thought twice about leaving my purse on a table and like getting up to get something. Being at the airport and like going into the bathroom, I don't know how it is for guys in the restrooms at the airport, but if you've got like a rolling carry-on and stuff, like I always take it into the stall with me at the airport. Over there, you're just not afraid that anyone's going to steal anything from you. And I had never really experienced anything like that before, so it was really strange. And I literally mentioned it to my husband probably every day while I was there. I can't believe we're in the same region. And this is so Western. And it is so built up and opulent and developed and being more and more developed all the time. Literally, you can't look anywhere without seeing cranes and construction because there's so much building over there. And I couldn't believe that the Emirates were almost untouched by what's going on in the region. And then all of a sudden, the day before I came home, a drone was flown over construction at the new airport and some fuel tankers were blown up and it killed 3 truck drivers and injured a bunch of others because they hit fuel tankers at the airport. And then there was retaliation, I believe in Yemen. And then just a couple days ago, rockets were intercepted by missile defense systems because rockets were headed to Abu Dhabi, which, having just been there and walking around, I was very well aware I was in a war zone when I was in Iraq and Afghanistan. There was evidence of it everywhere. When you go to the Emirates, it is just not like that. It's kind of like Vegas in a lot of ways. There's so much construction, the traffic, there's just people everywhere, amazing food, shopping, the nicest boutiques, designer clothes, Rolls Royces. We passed a Lamborghini. Well, all right, fine. The Lamborghini passed us on the highway and it was like, that's just what you see over there. And it was really, really strange to see the news and to be watching it in Abu Dhabi and hearing about a terrorist attack in Abu Dhabi and being like, because the whole time I was there, I felt so safe and it's so beautiful. Let's see. Your trips to Arabic culture went in Humvees with gun turrets. I mean, seriously. And then it went to 14 Garrett cold Ferraris, he says. Exactly, Eric. It was very, very strange. Beautiful country, really sweet people, amazingly diverse. Their culture and the Emirates in general are 100% dependent on immigrant labor. 100%. There is serious immigration there because the workforce is brought in. I could not believe the population of Filipinos that are working there, Indians, Pakistanis. They're brought over on these work visas. Because of that, birthright citizenship is not a thing in the Emirates like it is in the United States. I learned a lot, and the number of Emiratis living in the Emirates versus the number of people that are brought in to do a lot of the work in the Emirates, it's disproportionate. And there's just people everywhere working all the time. There are people whose job it is to just walk around public and common spaces to pick up trash. But the culture, you would never litter. But those people have the job of cleaning up the litter just in case something fell on the ground per chance. The public bathrooms were something I was not prepared for because, especially during COVID, We saw a lot of it with the Amazon drivers, that they're out and there's no place for them to go to the bathroom because so many restaurants and takeout places have their bathrooms closed. In the Emirates, there are public restrooms everywhere. Every single one of them has paid attendants, and they're open to anyone who needs them. It's not like you have to go in and buy a soda to use the bathroom at McDonald's like you do here. And they're immaculate. Even like truck stop bathrooms are literally immaculate. There's attendance in them 24 hours a day. It was really, really crazy. Tom wants to know, did I get caught in the crossfire? I wasn't anywhere near the original terrorist attack. I learned about it because my husband was alerted to it. We weren't anywhere near it. They're building a new airport there, and that's where the terrorist attack was. Originally, the reports came out that it was at the airport. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm flying out tomorrow. And there's another airport that's under construction. And that was the part that the terrorist attack happened. I never felt in danger. We didn't even hear it. You didn't see it. We were out sightseeing, walking around Abu Dhabi, taking pictures when it happened. Tom says, you're lucky to have made it back. I guess. I mean, it was a very surreal experience, and things are definitely getting strange over there. And like I said, I asked a lot of questions about not being able to believe that you're in that region and that the Emirates aren't getting attacked all the time, because they are so built up and they are so westernized and so modern. We went to this beachside resort for like one day and got upgraded to this amazing suite overlooking the water. And I was like, wait, what water is that? And it was the Persian Gulf. And I swam in the Persian Gulf. Having been to Iraq and Afghanistan, I never in a million years thought that I would ever swim in the Persian Gulf. And I did. And it was a very surreal experience. And it was beautiful. And everybody thought the water was too cold, and I went in because let's talk about the cold water in New England that we're used to swimming in even in the middle of the summer. Penny, good question. Penny wants to know what the primary language is. English. Pretty much everybody speaks English. Arabic, obviously, everyone speaks as well. But I had very few issues with people that didn't speak English. Like everybody spoke English. Maybe if you went into a restaurant or something, one person may not have spoken English, but someone else did. So communicating with people was just super easy. I didn't have a problem at all. I would assume Arabic and English. Michael says, yeah, you would assume correctly, but also because it's so diverse. There were so many Scandinavians there. There were so many Germans there. There were so many Filipinos there, that there were just languages everywhere. And as you looked around, there were just so many different people and different, I don't know if types of Muslims is the right way to say it, but different ways that people observed their faith. There were women that were completely covered from head to toe. There were people that had just their eyes uncovered. There were people whose faces were completely uncovered. There were women that were just wearing headscarves with Western clothes. There were women that weren't covered at all, that were just wearing regular clothes. There were men wearing very traditional clothing. And then there were men that were wearing business suits and shorts and T-shirts. It was very dependent on, I guess, how you practiced. Tom wants to know where I went ziplining. So you guys are going to have to do some Googling during the show because I don't have all the names of everything at the ready. But we went to the top of, I believe it's called Jebel Jais Mountain, Jais. It is, if you Google world's longest zip line, that's where the zip lining was. It is, in fact, the world's longest zip line. It's almost 2 miles long, uninterrupted. You zip line Ironman style. So you'll see in some of the pictures that I had this big bib on. That's because when they hook you up to the zip line, you lean forward and do like a push-up pose, and they tighten up the harness, and then there's a handle that's right over your tailbone. And you hold on to that handle and you literally go head first, Ironman style, and you can reach up to speeds of 100 to 120 miles an hour. It's fast as fuck and unbelievable. And my husband, this is not his bag of chips to do things like that for fun, but that's how you know a man loves you, because he took me to that zip line, which was amazing. And at the top of that mountain, they are building an alpine slide, like Attitash, the concrete tube. They're building that. They are building all of these other adventure sports things, because you have to go on this switchback road to get to the top of the mountain. And then there is also the highest restaurant in the country. And we ate out on this deck overlooking this mountain range and this valley where we ziplined through, and watched the sunset. And it was spectacular. The view was amazing. So if you guys look up the ziplining, yes, it is Jebel Jais. It's visitjebeljace.com. The activities, the adventure park, it's all under construction, but the zip line is functioning right now, and it is fast, and it's amazing. It's so much fun. I wanted to do it like 6 times. You had to get, you went up to the top in your own car, parked in the parking lot, and then you ziplined down, and they gave you a backpack so that you could put your personal items in it, like your cell phone, so you could take cell phone pictures while you were on the platform. And then once you got down to the bottom, you could take pictures, and then you got on a shuttle bus, and they drove you back up the switchback road on the mountain to get you back up to the top. It was unbelievable. It was so awesome. I loved every second of it. And I wore a GoPro, and it was like on an arm that like was in front of my face that gave kind of a fisheye view. And so that's where that close-up picture of me, the view I had to get with pictures on my cell phone from the platform. But if you go through those pictures and you see that the high mountains in the valley, that's what we ziplined through. And I could not believe that zip line was uninterrupted, and it was 2 miles long. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Skydiving on a laser, says Jason. Unbelievable zip line. No shit, says Tom. He is a keeper, Penny. I totally agree with you. Yep, that's my kind of adventure, Russ, says Ash. I bet it was awesome, says Tom. I definitely got some adrenaline while I was there. We also went to Jazz Island, which is an island off of Abu Dhabi, the Emirate. And Jazz Island is where the UFC had all the fights on Fight Island, they call it. And Jazz Island, if you Google Jazz Island, it is where the F1, the Formula One racetrack is in the Emirates. There's a 15,000 seat arena there. There's a massive shopping mall. There is a water park, a marina, and Ferrari World is there. And Ferrari World is basically a roller coaster amusement park, Italian themed place that has games. And if you are into F1 racing, if you are into Ferraris, this place is like heaven for you. And there's 4 big roller coasters there, and then a bunch of kids rides. And then there's this thing that's like a simulator. You get in a Grand Prix car, and there's like screens all around you, and it raises up on this hydraulic platform, and it makes you feel like you're driving a Formula One car, which I suck at, by the way, but we did that. So at Ferrari World, they have the world's tallest roller coaster, which is called, it's called Dueling. It's an Italian, fighter pilot, Flying Aces, it's called. That's what it's called, Flying Aces. And that's the world's tallest roller coaster. And then Formula Rossa is the world's fastest roller coaster. And that, according to what we read, starts at 240 kilometers an hour. It literally shoots you out of a cannon and then flips and goes around, and it's just out of control. I went on it 3 times. We went on Flying Aces 3 times. So because it rained that morning, Rain over there doesn't happen very often. And 90% of Ferrari World, if you look through those pictures and you see this 3-pronged massive Ferrari logo, that's Ferrari World. 90% of the amusement park is indoors, and you'll see these amazing scaffolding things. That place could never be built anywhere where hurricanes would happen or earthquakes. It's just as ridiculous. And out of the prongs, the roller coaster tracks leave the building, do all this flippy stuff, and then come back into the building. So you load the roller coasters indoors. It's insane. And because it rained that morning, it was almost empty. It was really weird. We were walking around a near empty amusement park. We rode roller coasters for 8 hours straight. We were exhausted by the time we left. We would literally be running up to a ride and they would wait for us to sit down and send the roller coaster. They said normally, non-COVID, non-rain, that you could wait 2 hours like at Walt Disney World. And we were just running through. There was no line at all. It was insane. That was amazing. Let's see. What other questions do you guys have? Yep, I'd puke, says Brianna. It was awesome. But I'll tell you what, the Formula Rosa, it was almost painful. It was so fast. It pushed you. And I've been in a fighter jet, and it pushed you, but I was wearing a helmet and protective equipment and all of that stuff. This thing, the harness came down, and when it took off, they would tell you, put your head back and hold on. And I would see people being like, oh, and then it was like, and they'd get smashed against the chair. It was crazy. Let's see. Sounds like Jazz Island, but actually Yas Island. Yeah, it's Yas Island, YAS. And you go over this bridge, and then there's hotels everywhere. And that's where the UFC literally took over the entire island and quarantined everything so that they could have the fights at that new arena. It was crazy. I was living the dream, Steven, seriously. Like, I knew that there was probably never going to be another chance for me to travel to that part of the world in the way that I did. I was fortunate that, like my husband had access to a car, and, I had a place to stay a lot of the time. And so it was a lot less expensive than it would have been if he and I had taken off from the United States, booked hotels, had to rent a car, had done the whole thing. Some things were really inexpensive. Some things were very expensive. Did you buy me pants, says Keith. I bet that's where the WWE performs too. Well, the arena on Yas Island is brand new. It's an entire entertainment complex, the whole island. It's crazy. There's like 5 massive hotels. It's insane. And it was amazing how often we were at the world's biggest, tallest, fastest something. And there's Guinness Book of World Records plaques everywhere. There's a building over there that is the world's farthest lean of a man-made lean. The building kind of goes up and then bends. It's very phallic. And it looks really crazy from far away because it looks like the building's tipping over. Like the Leaning Tower of Pisa is sinking. This building is built as like a curve. And it looks like the building's falling down, and it's supposed to look like that. Christina says, did you camp? Okay, so let me tell you a story about the camp. So we had intended to camp in the desert one night. My husband camps there a lot, kind of takes off and goes into the desert. And a lot of people do that. A lot of just Emiratis do that. You just drive off the highway and you're in the middle of the desert. Like, that's why when you saw the camel pictures, like it's just right there. It's very easy to be in the middle of nowhere there. And we had intended after the ziplining extravaganza that we were going to come out of the mountains and we were going to go camping. We opted instead to use some of my husband's miles and some of the hotel status things, points that he has collected over the years. And that was where we stayed on the beach. And when we got there, we made the reservation because we were so tired. And he was like, I really don't think that you are going to be a happy camper tomorrow. because I'll tell you that there were some very uncomfortable beds, and I am not a spoiled princess in the pea kind of person, but the bed that I slept on the most while I was there was like a plywood with like cotton balls on top of it. Like my back was killing me. I felt like crap. I didn't sleep well. And so we opted to, well, let's go stay someplace on the beach. That'll be great. When we got there, they upgraded us to this suite, and it was insane. They had 7 pools and this amazing brunch, and we went swimming. And the only thing that sucked was that there were like sand fleas on the beach. And so I got eaten alive or on my ankles from like these sand fleas and stuff. But we call that camping now. Staying at a beachfront resort. That's our idea of camping now. Michael says, let's talk about the Burj Khalifa. That place just amazes me. So the Burj Khalifa is the tallest building in the world. It's in downtown Dubai. There is an observation platform, like in every tall building, that you can go up and take pictures and whatever. That's on the 125th floor. We opted to spend the money to do what they call tea in the clouds, which was not cheap. But we said, you know what, we're going to do some of these things and splurge because we were able to save money in other places. Tea in the Clouds takes you to the 154th floor of the Burj Khalifa. P.S. The elevator trip is 1 minute. There's these projections on all 4 walls of the elevator when you go up. Your ears definitely pop. And as you reach the height of, say, the Empire State Building and other famous landmarks, the Eiffel Tower, that's projected on the screens in the elevator. And then you realize how high you are. The skyscrapers in Dubai are really tall. The Burj Khalifa dwarfs all of them. It's ridiculous how high it is. And so we got kind of dressed up and we went to the top of the Burj Khalifa, and they have this thing called Tea in the Clouds. And they have tea, coffee, canapes, pastries, all these different hors d'oeuvres. And they have this beautiful furniture and music. And they have all these little observation decks. And then there's an observation deck that's actually open air and it's all glass. So you can go out there and literally not lean over, but you could take your phone and lean it over the glass and take pictures. And it was kind of hazy. So there's a picture of me kind of pointing off into the distance. And what I was pointing at was the Burj Al Arab, which is the sail-shaped 7-star hotel that's over by Palm Island. That is definitely not like in downtown Dubai. That hotel is outside of downtown Dubai, and you could kind of see it, but like I said, it was really hazy. Yes, it was glamping, Eric, exactly. The curved building in Abu Dhabi is called the Capital Gate Tower. Yes, it is, Michael. Thank you for the Googling. You got to check it out. It's very phallic and it's crazy looking. If you're an architect or an engineer, it doesn't make any fucking sense. And so we went to the top of the Burj Khalifa, and it was spectacular and beautiful. And at the base of the Burj Khalifa is this massive shopping mall. And it is the world's largest collection of like high-end boutiques in the world, like Rodeo Drive, Newbury Street, Fifth Avenue, all of that combined. You walk through this mall and it's every high-end designer everywhere. In the middle of it is this massive shark tank. So Google the Burj Khalifa or the Dubai Mall Shark Tank. They have this massive tank right in the middle of the mall that has it's bigger than the tank at the Boston Aquarium or the New England Aquarium. And if you're a licensed scuba diver, you can pay to scuba dive in the shark tank at the fucking mall. And there were scuba divers in there, and I took pictures in front of the massive tank, and you can see the scuba divers in the pictures. And then outside the Dubai Mall is a massive pond that is like the Bellagio fountain. And they do fountain shows and light shows every hour. And you will see, if you go through my photos, there's a picture from the top of the Burj Khalifa, and you will see my finger pointing at something by the pond. That is where I was standing on the ground, taking the pictures up at the Burj Khalifa. So we went to the window where we could see where we were standing on the ground, and that's why I pointed it out, so that you could see how high up and what the perception was from where we were in the building all the way down to where we were standing. When I took the picture of putting my hand up and like touching the tip of the Burj Khalifa, that picture of me pointing in the picture is where I was when I took that picture. It's just crazy. Total culture shock to come back to Massachusetts, says Will. The temperature change was crazy. The temperature fluctuated from like the mid 60s to the mid 80s, depending on the day. Mid 60s, people were wearing North Face down parkas. Not kidding. And I was walking around in a tank top because I was like, yeah, it's 0 at home. I'm hot. Let's see. What's up, Mark? Let's see. Happy birthday, Barbara. Good night and be well. Happy birthday, Barbara. It was insane. The Burj Al Arab, the Sail building. Exactly. That is the world's only 7-star hotel, I believe. I love the Bellagio Hotel. They have the most comfy robes, says Heidi. Yeah, the fountain show was amazing in Dubai as well. And there's amazing food. And I spent a lot of time taking pictures of just normal things. Marketplaces, what the roads look like, what the food looked like, the shops, the stores. I really wanted to be able to give you guys a little bit of an experience about what it's like over there. I didn't bring back a lot of stuff. I did buy a t-shirt riding the Formula Rosa roller coaster because you got to. One of the things I did bring back, I brought some back for me and my sister. I brought back saffron, which is seriously a commodity. This is 2 grams of saffron. It's the world's best saffron, if you ask them. I'm trying to open it without spreading it all over the place. I learned a lot about saffron from the saffron guy. There's first cut saffron, second cut saffron, kind of like olive oil. There's first pressing, second pressing. This is the best saffron you can get in the world. That's what it looks like. This is first cut saffron. And I brought some back for my sister and I brought some back for myself because we both love to cook. And you can make tea with this. The guy told us to put it in a mortar and pestle and then put like warm hot oil and water and pour it over rice. And it's supposed to be amazing. And so we went, when we were in Dubai, we went to the gold souk, the silk souk, and the spice souk, which are these amazing shopping centers, down alleys. There's just, you can buy everything. And if you go through the pictures, you'll see all of the pictures of like the gold stuff in the windows, like gold bodysuits, bras. Some of those things were $140,000. There's just gold everywhere. And I guess Dubai is the best place to buy gold in the world. The best gold prices. A lot of people go there from India to buy gold for Indian weddings because that's part of the culture is the gold bangles that they gift the bride. And that's where they get them. And then when it comes to the rugs that you see in those pictures, we went rug shopping, which is really crazy because you kind of sit down in a chair and they pour you tea and then they bring rugs out and they flop them on the floor and tell you all about the region that it was made and what it was made out of. So I took a lot of pictures of the rugs and I told my husband that I wanted to go home and take some measurements. And that I have a feeling that I'm probably going to get a new rug or two because they're ridiculous. There were golden panties, Eric, not even a joke. Go and look through those pictures. It's insane. Is it expensive? It depends on what you're shopping for. Gold, the prices are pretty good. Because it's the best place to buy gold in the world, like gold bullion and like silver, like bricks. And like you buy that stuff and then you can buy jewelry and all of that kind of stuff. The exchange rate is about 4 to 1. So 4 of theirs to 1 of ours. And so some things were incredibly inexpensive. We were sitting in a line waiting to get a drive-through COVID test so that I could come home. And I jumped out of the car to go to this little coffee stand, had the best cup of coffee I had the whole time I was there. It was the last full day I was there. And I got 2 coffees and a samosa, which is one of my favorite things. It's like a triangular, deep fried like pastry with like spices and vegetables and potatoes inside. And that was $2. And that was like street food, that kind of stuff. Souvenirs, you can barter and get things cheaper. But then obviously there's other things, high-end things are expensive there. So it really depends on what you're shopping for. Rug shopping was amazing, Michael says. Did you buy a burkini? I did not. Yeah, Jeff, the saffron, unbelievable. Carrie, you fly those rugs like a genie. I'm telling you, like, I was so fat. The hummus and the grilled meats and the salads, the honey. Oh my God. I had some of the best meals. We had one really, really fancy meal while I was there. If you guys Google the Emperor's Palace in Abu Dhabi, my husband and I went there for our first anniversary dinner, which we didn't get to celebrate because he's been away. And so we got all dressed up and went to a place called the Emperor's Palace. And it's this massive hotel, but it looks like a palace and it's just huge. And they had this amazing restaurant that had like these private pagoda kind of things out on the beach. And we had this unbelievable meal at sunset, all dressed up, had a private waiter, and it was just amazing. And like that meal wasn't cheap, but it wouldn't have been cheap at home. But we were like, you know what? We're going to splurge on this. It's our anniversary. And it was amazing. They brought me out this unbelievable dessert. It said happy anniversary in chocolate on it with this like a Roman candle sparkler thing on the top. Current gold price is about $1,850 an ounce. Yowza. It's not that in Dubai. But then you got to get it home. Petting the camel video is the best, says Paul. Let me tell you what. I could not believe how many miles of fence. When I tell you that the highways are 6 and 7 lanes wide, and for hundreds of miles, there's this 8-foot wire fencing that just protects the highways from the wild camels getting on the highway, because at some point, the speed limit's 160 kilometers an hour, which is 100 miles an hour, like 99 point whatever. And so they put this fencing up to keep the camels from getting onto the highway. And then in other places, there are underpasses specifically put there just for the animals to keep them off the highway and allow them to get from one side to the other. So my husband said, look, you can see the camels. Like if you're driving through, Dairyland and you see cows just there, it was the same kind of thing, but they were wild camels. And so I was like, oh my God, will you stop? So we pulled off to the road and we got out of the car and we went up to the fence. And then all of a sudden we were like saying like, hey, camel, like didn't think they would come over. And they came over and I was like, and then the thing let me pet it. And I couldn't believe I was petting a wild camel. I had to get it on video. It was insane. The silk rugs can be wicked expensive. They are really expensive, but they last forever. But some of those rugs that I took pictures of, there's a picture of like 3 or 4 like red rugs in that rug shop. There were 8x10 rugs that were like $3,000, but they're handmade and they are amazing. And they're literally something you gift down and keep for generations because they are amazing. It's not something that you're going to, buy at Target for your dorm. It's not that. This moonshine's really good. Let's see. What else can I answer for you guys? Imagine hitting a camel at 100 miles an hour. Tom, that's why they put the fences up, because so many people are driving in these little cars, like little RAV4s, little Toyotas, whatever, and you're speeding on the highway, hitting a camel, everybody in the car would die. Serious commuting speed. And the thing is, here's the last thing I'll say, because there's a lot of other stuff I want to talk to you guys about on the show. There's a lot of music news and stuff that we need to go over, but here's the thing that surprised me the most. Number one, how clean everything was. Number two, and I think this is a lesson. I don't want to be preachy, but I noticed it. The Emirates and that whole region are very rich because of oil. But they also realize that the oil is running out, and they know that they're running out of oil. And if they don't diversify their economy, they are going to be in trouble. And I could not believe how much green technology they are using over there. For example, all of the hotels and apartment buildings have motion sensors in the hallway. So if no one's in the hallway, the lights turn off. So when you come out of your hotel room, it's dark. And as soon as you step in, all the lights go bloop, 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 all the way down. Things like motion sensors in your room. And if they don't sense motion, it turns the air conditioning off while you're gone. Just things like that. And I could not believe how many people were just working all the time. When you go to New Jersey, it's like the only place that doesn't let you pump your own gas. You don't pump gas in the Emirates. There is an attendant in a uniform, like the 50s gas stations in the United States, that washes your windshield and fills up your car. That's just normal. There's people working everywhere. And they don't use blacktop. There's no asphalt, right? They pave everything with pavers. Gray pavers with edge colors. We watched in 24 hours, we watched a crew of 150 people in the middle of the day pave a rotary with pavers that we would use on our back deck. But it was definitely noticeable, the different energy efficient and green technology things that are being used over there. And they are definitely, as they building things to be green. For example, we went to Expo 2020, which is what the World's Fair is. And the World's Fair happens every 5 years. It's kind of like the Olympics. Cities bid for it. Then they find out they're getting it, and then they have years to prepare for it. So Dubai got Expo 2020 and spent years building it up. And then obviously COVID happened. So Expo 2020 is happening right now and ends next month. And it's this massive facility. I think I talked about it last week, but I was literally delusional. They're turning Expo 2020 into a city the size of Worcester, and it is all completely green technology. It's going to be like one of the most environmentally friendly cities in the world. And that's how they build things over there, which is pretty crazy. My company has worked with the Dubai Energy and Water Authority on green tech, says Brett. Yeah, there's a lot of that over there. Everything is recycled. I took pictures of the trash barrels that are out in public because you don't just throw all your trash in the trash. You sort it and separate it. And it was really strange. Even I flew Etihad Airways, which is the United Arab Emirates national airline. And it was really weird to eat airplane food with real silverware because so much of what they do is reused and washed and cleaned and used again. And so why would they have you use plastic anything? It was either wood that's recycled, like wood cutlery, or actual. It was really weird to be handed a metal knife and fork on a plane to eat food, which was delicious, by the way, which again was very strange. Brianna says, and they're probably making a whopping $70 a week to do that. So what they do is they recruit in places like the Philippines, and you go there on a work visa and you stay in what they call a labor camp, which is like a massive dormitory apartment complex. And you get driven back and forth to work every day on shuttle buses, and they house you and feed you, and, you get access to, electricity and, showers and all of that stuff and transportation to and from work. And you go there for 2 years and you work and you send all the money home. And that is the lion's share of the manual labor that happens in the Emirates. And so when you're on the highway, you just see these white buses of laborers, and there's exits off of the highway. And it was really weird seeing signs for labor camp, because here in the United States, when we hear labor camp, I don't know about you guys, but I think the Holocaust. And so that was really strange for me to see signs that said labor camp. But that's the manpower that they get over there. And so they bring people in. It's all immigrant based. And I don't know how much money they make, but that's how they do it, is that you go over there on a 2-year work visa and then you send all the money home. Pavers, Tom. I'm not kidding. Pavers. The most intricate paving work I've ever seen was like on their roads. All their sidewalks were like those rubberized running track. If you guys see the pictures of the Grand Mosque that I took, there is a 2,800 kilometer running track with workout stations and public water fountains all around the Grand Mosque. And it's blue and rubberized and all marked with kilometer markings for exercising purposes. And it's beautiful. And they pay people to go out there with those big dust brooms and just clean the running track off as they just walk in downtown Abu Dhabi. It just, so much of it was so insane, absolute culture shock. It was very organized, but obviously here's the downside. You know you're being watched 24 hours a day. I've never seen so many surveillance cameras in my life. Facial recognition, they took my fingerprints, they scanned my eyes at the airport, and you just know that you are literally being watched everywhere. Every place I went, didn't matter if it was the mall, the Grand Mosque, the supermarket, there is an attendant in a uniform at the door taking your temperature as you walk in. Some places you had to show them your Al Hosn app, depending on where in the Emirates you were. You're very well aware. Traffic cameras. You think the cameras around like the Boston Marathon in Boston are crazy? You're being watched everywhere. And obviously, there's no such thing as civil rights there. But on the other hand, the crime rate is like nothing. Not saying it's good. I'll take my freedoms. Thank you very much. But it is weird. So, yeah, exactly, Michael. If they used asphalt, it would melt and deform. It's so hot there in the summertime. This is the cooler part of the year. So it's very strange. It's very beautiful, but there are a lot of conflicts, the same way that you can be on Rodeo Drive and turn the corner and be in Skid Row. It's that kind of disparity, and we have it here as well. So it's just how you wrap your brain around it, but it is completely controlled and organized. They have traffic cameras. So if you speed on the highway, you're not going to get pulled over by a cop. You're just going to get a speeding ticket in the mail because they got you on camera, because there's traffic cameras on every highway. And Waze has them, you can use Waze over there. And so Waze has them marked so that you know when to slow down. But I saw very few police. They're around, but you don't feel like this oppressive police presence necessarily. You just kind of know you're always being watched. It's really weird. Let's see. Yeah, it is very weird, but it was beautiful, and I'm so glad I went. I'm so glad I got to experience it. I don't know if it's a place that I would ever go again. I'm the kind of person that once I've been someplace, I would check it off the list and I want to see everything. So going back to the same place over and over again wouldn't allow me to see the rest of the world, which is what I want to do. So there you go. So that's the trip. Go through the pictures. If you got more questions, let me know next week. Comment on the pictures. I'll try and answer them. And so there you go. All right, we got to talk about everything else that's going on. Episode 85 of the Mistress Carrie podcast launched while I was sleep deprived last week, like literally went live a few hours after I got home, featuring my friend, mastering engineer Paul Logus. It was a long episode, I know, but he and I have been friends for so long. We talked about so much stuff, and I just didn't want to edit anything out of it. So if you haven't gotten all the way through the episode yet, I apologize. If you did listen to it all, thank you. And I just think he's a fascinating guy, and I loved all of the questions that he answered about the technical side of mastering records and the process of producing albums and dealing with the record companies and working with artists. He has this amazing perspective, and he is a music expert, and he has worked with such a wide variety of artists that I thought his perspective on things, working with Pantera and Tina Turner and everyone in between, is pretty hilarious. I just love Paul, and you'll know why I said Phil in a second. But I just love Paul. I've known him for so long, and I was so happy that he agreed to come on the show. Annette says, I love the long episodes. He was awesome, says Brett. Very good podcast. Thoroughly enjoyed it. But I forgot my question, says Betty. Let me see. Eric says, Jennifer, 20, my birthday is coming up quickly. What's up, Heidi, says Eric. I love the long episodes too, but like every episode of the podcast, I don't want everything to be the same. So sometimes you're going to get shorter episodes. Sometimes you're going to get longer episodes. It's just going to depend on the guest, their availability, what we're going to be talking about. Michael wants to know, Carrie, are you coming to Volbeat and Ghost? My hope is to be there 100%. I don't want to miss it. Carrie, are you going to get any Slipknot and In This Moment and Cypress Hill tickets? Heidi? Yep. Got them already. For both Manchester and Providence. So if you have a backstage pass, it's kind of going to get hooked up. So if you haven't listened to episode 85 featuring Paul Logus, definitely check it out, especially if you're a music lover. Let's see. Oh, thank you very much, Northeast Kingdom Heavy Metal Group. Thank you, guys. And once again, I want to thank the sponsor of the podcast, Digital Federal Credit Union at dcu.org. That brings me to this week's episode of the podcast, which you guys are going to love. This episode is awesome. It's so much fun. If you don't know who Phil Varone is a drummer. He was the drummer in Saigon Kick. He is the drummer of a new band called Panic Boom. He's played with Jakey Lee. He's played with Skid Row. He's played with everybody. You may remember him from Celebrity Rehab with not Dr. Phil. Who's the doctor on Celebrity Rehab? Because he was a sex addict and went to rehab for it. He was also in Playgirl. He's the first guest I've had on the show that was in Playgirl. He is also the first guest I've ever had on the show, to my knowledge, that had his own line of sex toys. And in this week's episode, we talk about what that process is like, molding your own sex toys based on your own genitalia. And the story is hilarious. There were a lot of firsts with this episode of the podcast. Phil, by trade, other than being a professional rock and roll drummer, is also a video editor, and he has a documentary out called 30 Years a Drummer as well. And Dr. Drew, thank you. So he was on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew and battled his sex addiction and is very open about it. And I found Phil to be wonderful. We talked on a Saturday morning. He is based out of Vegas, so it was really early in the morning for him. So we had coffee together. And he's an open book and makes no apologies for who he is. And his stories about the rock and roll industry are fascinating, about drumming are fascinating, and just his journey of being in Saigon Kick, which is a band that really got pigeonholed as a hair band because of their one rock ballad that was their biggest hit ever. But if you listen to Saigon Kick's music, they're not really a hair band. They're like this weird crossover band because there's so much grunge in their music as well. But as soon as grunge hit, they just knew it was over. And there were some really funny conversations about a lot of his fellow rock stars. And I've never met Phil before, but our mutual friends told me that I would absolutely love him, and they were 100% right. And by the end of the episode, he's a Giants fan, so we talked sports too. By the end of the episode, he was like, I want to come on the show again. This was so much fun. And so I think you guys are going to love this episode. Even if you don't love 80s and 90s music, even if you're not into Saigon Kick, even if you're not into rock music, this is an unbelievable story about his upbringing and the experience of him getting into a band and getting a record deal. We talked a lot about songwriting and the Beatles and influence and got super nerdy on some things. But Brianna, exactly. Making those sex toys is, quote, harder than you think. If you want to know what it's like to pose in Playgirl, he tells me the whole story. And it's hilarious. I never had anybody on the show that was in Playgirl before. Actually, that's not true. Bret Michaels was in Playgirl, but he wasn't a centerfold. Phil was a centerfold. And by the end of the episode, he's promising me an autographed copy of his magazine. I haven't received it yet, but Phil, I better get it. If you're watching, I'm waiting for it. So I think you guys are really going to love this episode. He is an absolute blast. I can't wait to have him on the show again. He is extremely opinionated and makes no apologies for it. And he is awesome. So episode 86 of the Mistress Carrie podcast featuring drummer Phil Varone goes live at midnight tonight. And I can't wait for you guys to hear it. All right. I want to remind you guys that if you subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, not only are you going to get the weekly episodes, but you're going to get the sit reps as well, which go live at 3 a.m. every weekday. So you get caught up with all of the rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates, and industry info. And you get it in 5 minutes. And you can subscribe. You can hear the podcast absolutely everywhere. This is just a few of the places where you can click subscribe. And if you don't understand how podcasts work, if you don't know where to listen to them, just go to mistresscarrie.com, find the episode you want to listen to, and they're all have embeddable players on there. You just click play. It's literally super easy. And if you just live your life on Facebook, the episodes get put up as video players on Facebook every day as well, and you can get them there. Once again, we are holding strong at 130 countries. Canada still the number 2 country in listenership so far this year, although I think maybe my listenership in the Emirates may go up a little bit. There's a ton of music headlines, and I'm going to go through them fast because I know that the show is running late because I wanted to tell you guys all about the trip. Coming up this Sunday, the Beatles are in IMAX for one day only. Peter Jackson is going to do a satellite Q&A. If you saw the Beatles Get Back 8-hour docuseries, they took... This Sunday is the anniversary of the rooftop performance of the Beatles, and so they took that performance with all of the new footage that's been remastered and brought back to life and restored. And they turned it into an IMAX concert film. And it's this Sunday. Go to the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com if you want the details. And there's a link there to find an IMAX theater near you. Beth Hart's Led Zeppelin tribute is coming out on February 25th. And she is headed to the Wilbur on March 9th. That's on the events calendar. Speaking of February 25th, Dream Theater is going to be at the Wang. Coming up on March 18th, Alice Cooper is going to be at Foxwoods. Tool is headed February 19th to the TD Garden, and there are still tickets available if you want to go and see Tool. Korn with Chevelle and Code Orange. They're going to be at the Dunkin' Donuts Center on March 16th and the SNHU Arena on March 19th. Those tickets are on sale right now. The Judas Priest dates are April 2nd and 4th in New England. Mohegan is April 2nd in Connecticut. The Songus in Lowell is April 4th. New music. Kid Rock released 3 new songs today, and this week he also announced a tour. He's got Foreigner going out on the road with him, and he's going to be at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield on August 24th. I believe those tickets go on sale this Friday for the entire tour. And Shinedown releases the first single from the 7th studio album from the band. The working title, Shinedown 7, but we know that's not the name of the album. But the song, Planet Zero, comes out tomorrow. So be listening for new Shinedown. We'll have more news from them, and keep your eyes on shinedown.com. But you know I'm going to tell you all about that stuff. Super Bowl weekend. We know the Pats aren't going to be there now, and neither are the Bucks. But Green Day, Halsey, Machine Gun Kelly, and Miley Cyrus are going to be at the Crypto.com Arena in LA. The Grammys have been postponed to April 3rd. They've been relocated to Vegas, and you can watch it. Trevor Noah is going to host this year's Grammy Awards live from Vegas on CBS. And also, we want to pay tribute to Meatloaf and Louis Anderson. Meatloaf passed away at the age of 74 of COVID, according to reports, and Louis Anderson passed away at the age of 68 in Las Vegas after a long battle with cancer. And I was looking at the downloads of Meatloaf's music, which have just gone insane. Meatloaf starred in over 65 films and sold over 100 million albums. And in the note that his family posted up on his official Facebook, Bat Out of Hell is still one of the top 10 best-selling albums of all time. So to Meatloaf and Louis Anderson, one of my favorite comedians. I loved him in Coming to America. Just so many amazing movies that he was in. And obviously Meatloaf, just an icon in so many films. The music is just everywhere, and it was sad to lose them in the same week. Bruce Dickinson, not only is he going to work on a solo album this spring, he's got his spoken word tour headed to the Schubert on February 5th, so it's coming up fast. Volbeat and Ghost are going to be at the DCU on February 11th. Those tickets are still available right now. The Dropkicks have their tour out right now, and they're headed home for St. Patrick's Day. House of Blues, March 17th, 18th, and 19th, and they're also going to be helping to open the new Roadrunner Club in Brighton on March 20th, and Royal Blood is going to be at the House of Blues on March 24th, and if you've never seen them live, they are amazing. Speaking of tours you don't want to miss, Papa Roach, the Kill the Noise tour, is headed to Mohegan on March 24th. That also features Hollywood Undead and Bad Wolves. And the venue Big Night Live, which is down at the TD Garden, is going to have a lot of rock shows there. And Mammoth WVH and Dirty Honey were supposed to be there this weekend, and their entire tour has been rescheduled, and the new date for Big Night Live in Boston is March 26th, the same venue where Jerry Cantrell is playing on April 9th. I know that's a lot of shows. Turnstile is also going to be at the Palladium. Sorry, I needed to move that. Turnstile is also going to be at the Palladium on May 21st. All of these shows with all of the updated information are on the events calendar at mistresscarrie.com. which is why it's been so difficult to keep the page up to date, because there's so many shows and so much information, and we need to talk about Boston Calling. Holy fucking shit. The Foo Fighters, The Strokes, and Metallica is going to be the Sunday night performers. Cheap Trick is going to be there. Avril Lavigne is going to be there. Even Michael Jackson's daughter, Paris Jackson, is going to be there. Boston Calling tickets for the 2 and 3 day passes are on sale right now. But the first night is going to be the Foo Fighters. The second night is going to be the Strokes. And the third night of Boston Calling is going to be Metallica now. And Boston Calling happens at the Harvard Athletic Complex in, I believe that's Alston. And it's Memorial Day weekend. So if you want to go and see Metallica and the Foo Fighters, that's where you can see it. Also want to remind you guys about the big gig, which is coming up at the end of April. It's Godsmack, 3 Days Grace, Black Veil Brides, Wage War, and Lilith Czar. And if you didn't listen to the Lilith Czar episode of the podcast yet, you get a lot of insight on Andy Biersack, the lead singer from Black Veil Brides, because it's her husband. And she was pretty candid about a lot of the stuff. Like, I know how they wipe their ass now because of that interview. And they're both going to be playing the big gig, which is going to be awesome. Let's see. Want to remind you guys about some of the Mistress Carrie deals. TS to Tea sponsoring the Sit Rep. You can live loose if you love tea, gourmet teas, amazing mixes of teas. There's a lot of that in the Emirates. There were just unbelievable teas over there. You can get 15% off everything you buy if you use the code CARRIE15 at checkout. The link is in my blog. Also, Tomes still offering the Mistress Carrie discount. You get a free month if you sign up for their 7-day trial and then email them. The email address is in my blog, and tell them you want the Mistress Carrie deal. And then also you can still use the code to get 20% off of Spartan Brews coffee. And that is in my blog as well. Mail call this week. There was nothing in the mail when I went to go and check it, but I did want to show you guys one other thing that I brought back from my trip. And I almost forgot to show it to you. Like I said, I didn't bring a lot of stuff home, but I brought this wooden box home. I'll show it to you over here. That has like, I'll try to hold it up a little bit. That has like this cool like brass inlay. And I like to bring stuff like this home. So you take the lid off, and then inside the sand, this is sand that I picked up where the camels were because I'm weird. It's like baby powder. I don't know if you can see. It's just so soft. And then this is a rock that I picked up at the top of Jebel Jais that I thought was really weird, that there was like this round rock up at the top of the mountain where the zip line was. I'm one of those people that collects shells from the beaches I go to and rocks from the places I go and sand from the deserts that I go to. And you guys have seen some of the ones that I collected from Iraq and Afghanistan. And then this rock I got from when we went to the fossil dunes. And this is a rock that is compressed sand. And if you chipped it with a chisel, it would break apart and turn back into sand. But this has been fused sand that is just how nature kind of, between the rainstorms and the wind and the sun, it just turned it into a rock, but it is actually petrified sand, which is really cool. And so I brought those home and keep them in this, isn't this bowl like amazingly carved and beautiful? So I brought a bottle of sand home and got it in this thing that I keep on a shelf now. And so I wanted to show you guys that as well. What's up, Ryan? So I wanted to show you guys that, and also wanted to remind you guys, don't forget you can get your cocktails and the War Room shirts and a lot of other stuff in the store at mistresscarrie.com. There's only a few of these onesies left, the made in 2020, made in lockdown baby onesies. So if you know somebody that has a lockdown baby, maybe the baby's 9 months, a year old, there's onesies that'll fit them. Go to the store. They're only $8. And also you can get Mistress Carrie merchandise at Joe's Albums that has locations on Main Street in Worcester and on Market Street in Northampton. And if you're celebrating your birthday today, you share it with Etta James and Alicia Keys. So cheers to you if you're celebrating your birthday. Cheers. And also, if you do not have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass yet, you should probably get one. Not only do you get access to exclusive live streams every month, and our live stream is this Sunday at 7 o'clock. So if you got a Backstage Pass, I will see you Sunday night. You also get to submit podcast interview questions. I tip you off when the interviews get scheduled so you can tell me the things that you want to know. And also you get travel blog updates. So when I do travel, I kind of keep you up to date on what I'm doing, and you get exclusive pictures and descriptions of things. And you also get early access to event tickets and exclusive concert ticket giveaways. And if you have a Backstage Pass, right now you have access to Volbeat and Ghost tickets. You have access to Royal Blood tickets. You have access to Knotfest Roadshow tickets and Korn tickets. So get yourself a Backstage Pass. Go to patreon.com/Mistress Carrie, or just go to mistresscarrie.com and click the Patreon button. It's super easy to sign up, but there's a lot of great tickets up for grabs. And the live streams are super fun as well. A lot more interactive, and you kind of get let in a little bit more of the behind the scenes working of the podcast and the War Room and Bigfoot First Productions, the radio stuff. It's a little bit easier to do it with a smaller group. And so that's what the Backstage Pass is for. And then finally, a reminder of all the places you can find me on social: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Cameo, YouTube, and of course, Patreon that we were just talking about it. So happy unbirthday, Keith, by the way. Let's see. I shared my birthday with Neil Diamond and Mary Lou Retton. Well, happy birthday, Terrence. Happy unbirthday, says Donna. Let's see. We're not at 107 yet, Jason. No, amazingly enough, we're not. So, Steven says, you own the website. I love the growth. There's a lot of things that are going on. We launched mistresscarrie.com, getting the merch store up and running. There are some new products in production. So I'm going to be talking to the people with Backstage Passes about some new products coming up on Sunday night. I got some prototypes to show you guys. So there's a lot going on. And yeah, it's going to be pretty good. And we'll be freezing cold and digging out of the snowstorm we're getting this weekend. So it'll be a perfect time. All right, guys, tonight was a long show. I apologize if I bored you with talk of my trip, but I've been getting so many private messages and so many comments on the photo galleries that I wanted to be able to answer your questions. Obviously, if you have more, just let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. And episode 86 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight, featuring drummer extraordinaire and Mr. December. That's what we're going to call him from now on. 86 goes live at midnight tonight. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Welcome to the War Room for anybody that was new tonight. I'll be back on the radio tomorrow, and it's so nice to be wide awake ending the show, because last week I was cuckoo crazy. And this week I actually feel good. So, all right, good night, everybody. I'll see you guys next week. And Backstage Pass holders, I will see you guys Sunday.